Good evening, and welcome to Dan Bain's Sleepy Time Mumbles, a podcast you can miss. I'm Dan Bain, and every episode I improvise a low-stakes podcast for you to fall asleep to. Friends, I have had the accusation levelled at me that sometimes this show is too funny to go to sleep to. Now, I'm far too modest to either confirm or deny what I think about that. But what I can say is, if you would enjoy watching me attempt to very deliberately be funny, you can, from September the 12th, watch my full stand-up comedy special, Would You Like Me More If I Was Less Like Me, on YouTube. There is a link to that in the show notes. But not now. That can wait. For now, put down your phone, turn off your screens, and close your eyes. Now it's time to be mumbled to sleep. Season 6, Episode 13, an Omnibus edition, Xcom 2, War of the Chosen. Season 3, Episode 11, Xcom 2, War of the Chosen. Warning: the following episode contains spoilers for the computer game Xcom, Xcom 2, Xcom 2 War of the Chosen, and Xcom Enemy Unknown. Yes. Xcom 2 War of the Chosen is the video game that I have played the most. Certainly, at least as an adult. Perhaps as a child, there was something that occupied my time more, but thinking back over my adulthood, I can't really think of a game that has occupied more of my time. As such, I have quite an in-depth knowledge and understanding of the game. And this evening, we will be exploring that in minute detail. Before any meaningful discussion of Xcom 2 War of the Chosen begins, one must have a understanding of the narrative that has been established and set up that we arrive in at the beginning of Xcom 2 War of the Chosen. In Xcom Enemy Unknown, the first of the rebooted season of the earlier classic Xcom UFO Defense. Is that what it was called? I don't recall, although I did play it and finish it. The series was rebooted by Firaxis, and in this game, you, the player, take on the role of the global coordinator of a extraterrestrial defense force that is mobilized to defend Earth against a invading extraterrestrial threat. The Xcom reboot took the mechanics of the original game, streamlined some of them, and basically faithfully replicated them in a fancy graphics package. I enjoyed it immensely and played it through to completion multiple times. Also, when the expansion to it, Enemy Within, which added the ability to turn your soldiers into robots or into genetically enhanced mutants. I also played that several times through to completion. However, in this, I was in fairly rarefied company, because the global statistics reflect that the majority of campaigns of the original Xcom end in failure. Here is where Xcom is rather unusual compared to many modern games which want you to finish them. Xcom does not. It wants you to suffer and potentially win, but it will not hold your hand in order to do so. With this information that the majority of runs at the game ended in failure, for the sequel, Xcom 2, a very bold narrative choice was made, and that is that the canon result of the first game was failure. That you, the commander of Earth's forces had failed to defend against the alien invasion, had been captured, and Earth occupied and taken over by the invading alien forces. And that is where we find ourselves at the beginning of Xcom 2, War of the Chosen. Let's talk about some of the characters that you will interact with in a friendly manner. Firstly, and most importantly, Bradford. Bradford is your second in command and assumes command of the Xcom project when you're captured. And it is he, that organizes your eventual rescue to resume the resistance. Bradford in the first game is fresh-faced, straight out of officer training school. But by the time we meet him again in Xcom 2, War of the Chosen, he's a grizzled veteran, up to all sorts of cool stuff. And he wears a jersey, a green cable knit jersey. Who else? Head of Engineering, Lily Shen. Lily Shen has a little flying robot buddy called Rover. And he flies around, getting up to things. Lily Shen is the daughter of Raymond Shen, the head of engineering in the first game, who tragically died in the aftermath of the fall of the original Xcom UFO defense. The final member of the important crew is Tigan, the chief scientist and medical officer aboard the Avenger, a former member of the Advent government, more on that later, who has removed the chip from his head and joined the crew of the Avenger. Tigan leads the research efforts that will be essential to Xcom and the Resistance ongoing success. These are the main allies that we have, but there will be secondary ones. There are, in addition to the general Resistance and Xcom itself, your particular arm of of the resistance. There is also the Reapers, who are led by Volk, who is a man with a beard. More on the Reapers later. Then there are the Skirmishers, who are led by, I want to say Bezos, but I think I'm confusing that with Jeff Bezos from Amazon. I'm not sure. And then there's the leader of the Templars, who's called Prion or something. Not hugely memorable, but still little friendly friends that will sometimes have something to say. At the final notable ally on your side is the councilman, who was the faceless liaison between you and the different council nations in the first Xcom, who has somehow survived and infiltrated the Advent government. From inside here, he feeds you crucial information that will be essential to overthrowing the alien menace. That's the cast of characters on your side. Now, let's run through the basic narrative of the game in its entirety, from beginning to end. So first we have the events of XCOM 1, where the commander, you, sets up and controls the global defense against the alien menace. However, this event is futile. The base is destroyed. The commander is... The rest of the team scattered to the wind. Bradford continues making little hit-and-run attacks against the aliens, but nothing is super effective. Somehow Raymond Shen captures a downed UFO, the Avenger, but it is never... It doesn't fly, it's downed. That bird is downed. Then, 20 years after the arrival of the Elders, on Unification Day, a message is sent from the Reapers. They have discovered the location of the package. The package is you, the commander. Bradford launches Operation Great Gatecrasher to rescue the commander. And he does so. But some people die. Jane Kelly does not. She is a soldier. Bradford is also on the mission. They fly back to the Avenger, and Tygan extracts the control chip from the commander's brain. Your brain. When you wake up, you discover that all of the runs of Xcom 1 that you'd done were just a simulation that the aliens were running over and over to learn your tactics. So that's pretty bad. All those failed missions, even the successful ones, just a simulation while you were stuck in a stasis suit in a tank. Bradford hands control of the Avenger over to you. Lily Shen has a mission for you, so you send a squad out and recover a piece of electro machinery. It's the final piece that you need for the Avenger. Once this mission is successful, the Avenger is now able to fly. Oh yeah. Then you fly around the world, fighting little guerrilla battles and attempting to thwart the alien presence. Then you're contacted by the councilman. He's undercover in the alien base. He tells you they're working on a project. They don't know what the project is, but it's called the Avatar Project. And if they get to the end of that, it's gonna be curtains for the resistance. But he has a tip, he has a lead for you. In another region across the world, there's a black site where some sort of mysterious activity has been going on that is related to the Avatar Project. So you should check it out. But you can't do that yet because you have to get in contact with that region. In the meantime, you get a message from Volk and I don't know, whatever that lady's name is, Jeff Bezos, Bezos, head of the Reapers and the skirmishers. Can you command a broker a peace deal between these two adversaries, bring them together against a common foe? The strike team is set in two separate units. One to escort Dragonova to the meet spot. Dragonova is a Reaper. And the other one to escort Praetal Mox, first of the freed Advent. And they meet up, and then suddenly they're attacked by a mysterious being. It's one of the Chosen. That's right, from the title, War of the Chosen. The Chosen are 3 incredibly powerful beings, more powerful than any of the aliens' normal troops. And it is the assassin one. There are 3 of them. The assassin, the hunter, the warlock. And the assassin is the one that is there. And she can go invisible. And she kidnaps Praetal Mox. He is captured. Uh-oh. But now the Reapers are on your side and willing to help to rescue Mox. But that mission happens later. In the meantime, you do all sorts of stuff and try and get your soldiers better and not have them die, and research new stuff. We'll go into all that later on. Eventually, you do the Black Site mission. It's a weird refinery. In it, you find some goopy liquid, some sort of mass extracted DNA from the Advent gene clinics. That's right, these gene clinics that they have been established in the middle of town that can heal all your illnesses. They've actually been liquefying the people in order to find something in their DNA. This is the precursor part of the Avatar project. Dun, 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 dun. In order to get any further though, we need to get into the Advent computer systems now, because all the Advent troops are linked together via mind control and having those chips inside their brains. An invention is made that's kind of an intrusive knife thing that direct links into their brains in order to hack into the system. So this is made, but then when it happens, when it gets deployed by stabbing a guy in the head with it, an electronic countermeasure thing, in kind of humanoid version computer thing, manifests a new type of enemy called the Codex. If you defeat this, you now get the Codex brain. You now have the goo and the Codex brain. In order to research those, you need to build the Shadow Chamber, a high-tech research facility. You build the Shadow Chamber. You research the things. Then you have to do energy signal, where there's a gateway into what looks like another dimension. You capture the gate, you bring that back, you install it into the Shadow Chamber. Ooh, now we're talking. Then it's probably time to try and get this bloomin' gate open. You open the gate, it goes to the alien base. You send a strike team to the Advent control tower. Their job is to sabotage it. Small team. While the big team goes through the gate and defeats what's on the other side. I also missed out that the Avatar project is about trying to find a body that can house the elders, because they are dying of a disease and are pretty much just energy now. So they're kind of genociding people in order to find the perfect kind of genetic makeup of that. There's also a mission to go and find the blank form that they're planning to install themselves in. And then what happens? That's right, you, the commander, get installed into that body. So now you aren't just commanding, you're also in the battles, and you are going through that gate. And you go through the gate, and there are heaps of guys through there. Let me tell you right now, there are bloomin' heaps of them. And if you haven't dealt with the Chosen, all three of them, they're going to be in there as well. This is going to be a 2-part episode, because I haven't even got into describing the game mechanics. And believe me, I am going to do it in excruciating detail. This evening, we're going to carry on with important discussions around the gameplay of Xcom 2, War of the Chosen. This follows on from the narrative and character discussions of part 1. The gameplay in Xcom 2, War of the Chosen can essentially be broken up into 2 discrete components. The strategy layer, where you manage your resources, fly around the world, investigating leads, joining together the fragments of the human resistance, building new facilities within the Avenger, your mobile base, and building, upgrading and constructing gear for your strike teams, who you'll be sending on engagements with enemy forces. That is the strategy layer. Then the tactical layer is the other part of the game, where you command your individual soldiers, usually in a squad between 4 and 6 individuals, sometimes larger, according to some variables throughout the game. And you will maneuver and position them on a 3D grid style map. The game is played in turns, much like a game of chess. You will move your soldiers, and then the opponent forces will respond. And in the tactical map, you'll attempt to achieve your objectives. Sometimes that will be to rescue an individual, assassinate a high-ranking Advent leader, or simply clear the Advent presence from area of strategic importance. We'll begin by discussing the strategy layer. When you first begin a new game of Xcom 2, or of The Chosen, and you arrive at the strategy layer, the first thing you're asked to do is to go to engineering, where you'll meet Lily Shen, get some background on her character, and also be introduced to the mechanic of constructing new equipment and upgrades for your tactical teams. At the beginning, there are only a few options that you can build, and everything that you build consumes resources. There are multiple resources in the game that you'll need to gather. One is simply called supplies, and this is a general all-purpose stuff that's used for building equipment and also new facilities inside the base. The next one is rarer, and it's called alien alloys. This is a otherworldly metal brought to the planet by the alien invaders and salvaged from their destroyed stuff. You'll need this for building more advanced equipment that takes advantage of the technological enhancements that the invaders have brought to Earth. Finally, and of no use at this point in the game, as you need to unlock some things, but the last resource is, the second to last resource is Illyrium cores. These are alien batteries, effectively filled with Illyrium, the mysterious alien fuel that is used to power their UFOs and advanced weaponry as well, I suppose. The actual final resource is intel, and this will be spent not on building things, but on contacting new territories, on gathering information and finding out secrets around the advent and alien forces. At the beginning, although you have supplies and intel, there's only a limited number of things that the base level engineering department is able to construct. A medipack, a flashbang grenade, a smoke grenade. I think that's it. I feel like there's something else. Basic equipment. Once you've worked out this mechanic, you'll then get summoned to the research laboratory, where you meet Chief Scientist Tigan and learn the mechanics of research and how that works. Research is determined by the number of scientists you have. More scientists, research projects move faster. They also take longer or shorter depending on the level of complexity of the thing being researched. Throughout the game, as you capture or find various alien items and artifacts, and as you uncover more pieces of the puzzle and mystery that is the Avatar project, they'll become available to research in the lab. Only one research project can be done at a time. And so you will need to make decisions as to what is your priority. Are you going to research new guns to turn your soldiers into more efficient killing machines? Or are you going to research armor so they don't just get killed really easily? Or any sort of other things that add more abilities or advance the plot of the game. These are the two base level versions of the research and engineering lab. Scientists speed up research. The engineers are required to build new rooms and then also to staff them. So both of these types of personnel are, in a way, another resource that you'll have to manage. The Avenger has 3 empty spaces when you begin, where you can build a new facility, a new room in the ship that will provide some bonus or functionality that you don't currently have. After that, you'll have to clear out rooms that are filled with miscellaneous junk or dead machinery in order to reset the room and enable you to build a new facility in there. Throughout the course of the game, you'll be able to make a improved version of the engineering department called the Foundry, which is used for more experimental and complex levels of weaponry, and also an advanced version of the research labs called the Shadow Chamber, which will be required to research the most intriguing and plot-specific parts of the alien agenda, aka the Avatar project. The next location on the ship that we go to is the bridge, where our friend Bradford hands control of the Avenger back to us. From the bridge we will make decisions about where to fly in the world, and what missions to undertake. In the bridge is a giant holographic representation of the globe, and it is on this that we will plot courses for the Avenger to fly on, and generally get stuff done. So then we pull out to the globe, and it is the world we know, but the territories have been redrawn into a newly shaped lines of political boundaries or territories. To begin with, we can only conduct operations in the area immediately around us where we have begun. In order to expand out further, we will need to make contact with resistance cells around the world. But this, of course, will require intel in order to find out where they are. So, our objectives are multiple. One, expand the resistance across the world, as this will give access to more resources. Also, continue to upgrade, improve, and enhance facilities and soldiers, and also discover what the Avatar project is and halt it. And then, if possible, overthrow the aliens' hold on the planet, rescuing them for us all. Various items become available on the map, locations of interest where you can fly the Avenger to and do some scanning. Scanning will take a certain amount of time, but once the scanning is complete, you will find whatever was there or available. So you may get tips about a abandoned supply colony, or some soldiers who have been hiding out and will join the team, or a downed aircraft with some stuff in it. These sorts of things. The other type of encounter that you'll find is missions. One of your various contacts will supply you with missions. This could be one of the leaders of the factions, which we discussed in episode 1, or it could be from what's his name? The man in black, the councilman. These could be any of the following types of mission. A guerrilla operation, a little strike force mission where you're going to go in and steal something or generally do something to disrupt the alien plan. These are the majority of the type of mission. Also, perhaps Resistance base is under attack by Advent and alien forces, and you are going in to reinforce them. That's a type of one as well. Also, sometimes the Avenger can get shot down by a UFO, and you have to defend that. Also, you could sometimes you attack a facility that is working on the Avatar project, and your aim is to get in there and plant explosives and destroy the facility. Another kind of mission is hunting the Chosen, and it takes a while to unlock those through resistance operations, which I'll talk about in a minute. But there are 3 Chosen bases, and that is also a type of mission you can do. There's also a jailbreak mission. If some of your soldiers get captured, you can rescue them sometimes. So there's lots of types of, or supply. Sometimes you can find a supply train and go and hijack it for stuff if you need stuff. Those are pretty much the types of mission. There's other things you can do though. You can find the black market, which is an underground shop where you can buy or sell resources. Also, if you go back to any of the faction bases, so the Reaper base or the Templar base or the Skirmisher base, you get a bonus just for scanning there. One of them, you gather intel. I think that's the Reaper base. At the Skirmisher base, you build and excavate base facilities faster, and at the Templar base, your soldiers heal faster if they have been wounded in a activity. As things progress, you're going to build more facilities inside the Avenger. One of these is resistance communications, which is required for adding more territories. You can only have so many territories per level of resistance communications, so you need to expand that if you want to expand your territories. Also, resistance ring, it's called, which is a little strategy room for covert operations. These are non-tactical missions that you can send your soldiers on to find extra resources, that sort of thing. Also, track down the Chosen. This is good because your soldiers also gain experience for doing these, but you don't have to do a tactical battle, although there's always a chance that they will be wounded or ambushed on their mission, and then you'll have to do an actual tactical battle to extract them from the hot zone. so they've got to look out in the hot zone. Also, you can build a infirmary which speeds up the healing of everyone. Also, you can build a guerrilla tactics school, which lets you expand your squad, which is kind of really useful. Otherwise you only have 4 guys, and it's pretty hard going with only 4 guys. Also, you can get some bonuses as well, and train rookies as a specific class. Also, you have to build power stations, because everything needs power, doesn't it? Yep, of course it does. Also, you can build more workshops and laboratories. Laboratories speed up research, and workshops have basically increased the capacity of engineers to staff facilities. And those are pretty much the core mechanics of the strategic game. When it comes to upgrading soldiers, which is also part of the strategic game, it meshes so closely with the tactics. This is my follow-up to Xcom Chosen. Xcom Chosen? No. Xcom 2, War of the Chosen, Part 1, and Xcom 2, War of the Chosen, Part 3. Interestingly enough, Xcom 2, War of the Chosen, Part 2 is the most popular episode of Sleepy Time Mumbles. By far. I know why that is. And long-time listeners, you will too. It's because it was the final episode before my year-long hiatus, and as such sat there accumulating new listeners. But if one was to ignore that essential additional information, one could very easily just think, oh my gosh, there is a huge desire for these episodes. Now, nonetheless, there is a huge desire from me to complete the series. As you'll recall, in part 1, I discussed the plot of Xcom 2 War of the Chosen. In part 2, I discussed the mechanics of the strategy layer. So, the journeys of the Avenger, the building and increasing of your base, the entirety of the base mechanics. And all the flying about that you do outside of, so the strategic level of the game, yes, but this isn't the primary aspect of the game. And so this evening, in an attempt to wrap up this series so it doesn't go on and on forever, the strategic layer of Xcom 2 War of the Chosen. Now, essentially the strategic game boils down to this. You arrive in a mission zone with a number of operatives between 4 and 6 operatives, and in a turn-based tactical way you attempt to achieve your goals. Turn-based, what does that mean? Basically it means you will move all of your characters. Perhaps you'll take some specific actions, and then the enemy forces, the aliens, which we discussed in detail, I believe, in part 1, they will take their turn. So it alternates, like a board game, a game of chess or checkers or drafts, if you are not in America. A two-player game, so to speak. That is both the simplicity and the complexity of it. Now, within that, obviously there are many, many permutations of things that can happen and things that you will be required to do. Let's start at the beginning. So to begin with, your soldiers are rookies to begin with, and that means they are just generic soldiers. They have no particular aptitude in any particular field or specialization. That's going to come later on. At the beginning, they will be armed with a kind of a burst fire machine gun and perhaps a fragmentation grenade. And so, actions that they can take. Each character can take 2 actions. Now, one of those actions will always be to move. Now you can
of course, forfeit to move, no requirement to move. It is not compulsory, but one of the two actions will always be to move. Now, the second action can be to move again, move kind of double your allocated distance, and then that would end that character's turn. So again, two things, a move and then a second move. Or a move and, for example, you could fire your little machine gun at a hostile force, alien or advent trooper. You shoot it at them. Shoot. Throw your grenade. Another possible action. Another couple of actions that you can take. Hunker down. So that means like you, if you think there's a high likelihood of you getting shot at in the opposing player's team turn, you can hunker down and increase your defense significantly. That's an option. Another option, go on to Overwatch. So Overwatch basically means instead of shooting on your turn, you go on to guard mode, and if an enemy crosses your line of sight on their turn, you'll take a shot. So you're forfeiting taking your action in your own turn and reserving it to potentially play it as an interrupt in your opponent's turn. Yeah, I think that's a really great way of describing it. There is a slight penalty to the percentage likelihood of that hitting, to kind of take into account that they are on the move. Okay. What else can you do? Let's say one of your companions, one of the other 4 to 6 units, friendly units achieving the mission, has been incapacitated in some way. You can pick them up. That's a free action to pick them up, and you can carry them around. Now, when you're carrying them, you can't do any other actions. All you can do when carrying someone is move. Why would you want to do this? Well, 2 reasons. One, maybe they're not dead, maybe they're just unconscious. So you don't want to leave them behind. Got to get to the evac zone, pick them up, carry them. Another possibility, they're bleeding out. So sometimes people will sustain an injury and they won't die, but they'll start bleeding out. And that means they have 3 or maybe 4 turns before they die. So you could, within that time, pick them up, get them to the evacuation zone, remove them, and keep them alive. Another possibility, they're dead, but they were carrying some good stuff. Now, you don't want to abandon the good stuff. So you pick them up, bring their body back, and that will retain the good stuff. Other things you can do, evac. Evac is a free action. You just need to be in the evacuation zone. So you can, for example, double move into the evacuation zone and then rope out. So a rope drops from the Sky Ranger, which is the transport aircraft that drops you at your various mission sites. And there's a free action to rope out to the Sky Ranger, and you can rope out when you're carrying for example, carrying someone, etc. What else? Obviously, you can throw a grenade, same as shoot or you can use some item of equipment if using it requires an action. And finally, you can also you can also for free open and close doors. If you're standing adjacent to a door, you can open it, close it. If you're hidden, opening a door won't reveal you, whereas just running through it, the banging, I guess, of the door will reveal you. Okay, so that's the basic. That's everyone can do. People can also hack kind of computers and like unlock door. Everyone has a hacking statistic, and if you're next to something, you can attempt to hack it. But there's also a specialist class, literally called specialists, that can do that remotely. But actually, everyone can do it because it's the kind of thing that you need to be able to do it if you're on a mission and you haven't bought a specialist. Like, everyone has the ability to do it, only a specialist can do it remotely. Okay, so those are the actions that everyone can take through every mission. Now, as I mentioned, when you begin, you will only have access to a limited repertoire of weaponry, and you have no abilities other than those generic ones that everyone can do. However, as your soldiers successfully complete missions, they will level up, and every time they level up, they will have the opportunity to they get a new skill or perk or special ability, whatever you want to call it. They also get some bonuses to their general stats. They get a bit better at shooting, whatever, less likely to panic, a couple more hit points, that sort of thing. But the main crux of developing them is equipment, which we'll talk about later, but primarily class-based abilities. So, as when soldiers receive their first upgrade, so move from a rookie to private? No, I don't know. From a rookie to whatever the first level is called, they get assigned into a character class. And in the base game, these are Ranger, which is kind of an aggressive close combat / stealth specialist. Specialist, mentioned those earlier. They are kind of a technician / support character. So either they have a remote drone that comes with them that they can use to either hack enemy robots and computer networks and that sort of thing, or they can use to buff other members of the team. Sharpshooter, which is armed with a heavy pistol and a sniper rifle, and can kind of move into a specialization with either as a gunslinger, so pistol specialization, or sniper specialization, so long range, hang out at the back, unerring accuracy. We all love a sniper, except in real life. I feel like that would be the worst. Okay. And the last one is the heavy, which is expert in kind of heavy weaponry. So kind of a rotary cannon, minigun sort of thing, and also explosive ordnance, kind of grenade launcher specialization. So those are the 4 characters that your soldiers they'll be assigned into one of those, and then the decision for you will be, as they advance, which of those split pathways you want to move them down. You can specialize exclusively in one or the other, or you can kind of mix and match between the two to kind of suit, I guess, the way that your play style kind of works. Now, the classes that are available, 4 core classes as mentioned, but there are also 2 extra classes. Psi Operative, which you cannot access until later in the game due to needing to do research in order to unlock the capability of training psionic operatives. And Spark, which is a giant robot that's a robot you can have. And then in War of the Chosen, there are also 3 hero kind of class characters. You can't train these guys from nothing. You have to specifically recruit them from their different factions, and they are the Templar, which is a psionic kind of close combat specialist, the Reaper, which is a infiltration kind of stealth unit, a scout effectively, and the Marauder. That's not what it's called. Skirmisher. There we go. It got there in the end. It's a skirmisher, that's right. And they are kind of a versatile, I guess, highly mobile. Is the kind of the role that they fall into. Okay, so we'll just talk about the 4 core classes. We'll begin with the Reaper, the Ranger, rather, and go through the kind of the abilities that you're going to be able to upgrade your Ranger to. So when they first get categorized as a Ranger, they're immediately going to lose their machine gun, and they're going to get given a shotgun and a sword, and that's going to enable them to do a melee attack where they can run in and chop with a sword, and that can happen at, I guess the bonus of that is you can double move and do a chop at the end of that. Yeah. Okay, then when you go up to your next level, so you're going to get that by default. Then when you go to the next level, though, it's going to be a choice. You're going to have to make a choice. So you have one of 2 options. So the first one is called the Scout path. The second is in the Assault path. And so one is more about sneaking about. The other one is more about just being kind of a frontline cannon. Okay, so the Scout option is Phantom as the ability, and basically what that means is that if you start the mission in concealment, so sometimes the enemies won't know you're there at the start, and then once you start throwing grenades at them or whatever, then they'll be like, oh, we get that you're here. So that's called being revealed. And in those situations, characters with the Phantom ability will not be revealed. Your alternate option, Blade Master. And Blade Master adds 2 damage to your sword attacks, and you also get plus 10 aim for shooting a shotgun. So you can see already how they're breaking this into, like, do you want to be more sneaky, or do you want to be more effective as a kind of killing machine? When you go up to the next level, from Corporal to Sergeant, so you, again, 2 choices. On the Scout path, Shadow Strike, which is when concealed, gain plus 25 bonus aim and plus 25 bonus critical hit chance when attacking enemies. So basically that's meaning that your attacks from being hidden are pretty much always going to hit and pretty much always going to do a critical hit if you've positioned yourself well. Obviously nothing's guaranteed. It's Xcom, baby. But this basically means that attacking from concealment is likely to either be lethal or deal an Meanwhile, over in the assault options, your choice is Shadow Step, which means that you do not trigger Overwatch or reaction fire. So we spoke about Overwatch being a thing that you can do to shoot in the enemy's turn. Vice versa, and likewise, they can go on Overwatch to guard against your movement. And Shadow Step means that this particular character will not trigger Overwatch or reaction fire, different to lightning reflexes, which we'll maybe talk about later. Great. So if they're moving to level, the next level, as a lieutenant or a lieutenant, depending on where in the world you are, on the scout path, the ability is conceal, which is immediately into concealment once per mission. So in missions that you begin in concealment, they don't know you're there. Enemies can't target you, or they won't look for you. They might look for you, but they don't kind of go for you or whatever. You're invisible to them. This enables you to go back into that state after having already been revealed, doing some attacks. You go back into a hidden state. Or run and gun, which enables you to take an action after dashing. So move again, fire shotgun, for example. Move, grenade. Move, put a guy down, whatever. This is a 3-turn cooldown, so you're able to do this every 3 turns. Right, now if you go up to Captain, next level up, if you score 1 or more, Implacable, which is if you score 1 or more kills on your turn, you get a single bonus move. So kill someone and get to move again for free. So what that might look like is move, shoot, move again. Yeah. Good at kind of popping out of cover and then back in to perhaps get a vulnerable straggler or whatever. But on the assault side, Blade Storm, which gives free sword attacks on enemies that enter or attack from melee range. So if anyone moves into a square adjacent to you, you immediately, as an interrupt, chop them with your sword. This and Blade Master is like a high level sword weapon, is a real game winner. I find it hard to deny, to be honest, but your mileage may vary. Next level up, Major. On the scout level, Deep Cover. If you do not attack this turn, hunker down automatically. So that's a free hunker down, which ups your defense considerably. So you're able to dash and then also go into cover. That's a good bonus. Or Untouchable on the other side. These are the choices that you're moving between. Deep Cover or Untouchable. Untouchable is if you score a kill in your turn, kill an alien, Advent soldier, the next attack against you is guaranteed to miss. So it's pretty good. And then finally, as high as you can get, a colonel in the ranger promotion track. Highest two options. Option 1, rapid fire, which is basically just get to shoot twice. Slight penalty on your aim with that. And that has a 5-turn cooldown, so you're going to be waiting a while to do that again. And the other option is Reaper, where you activate that and you start like a chain melee attack kind of sequence. First one can't miss, and if it kills the person, then you immediately get another action, which of course can be another move and melee attack. And then if that one also successfully kills, then you get another. You see how it goes. Like you can do, if you kind of set it up nicely, you can do a significant chain of kind of ongoing melee attacks. It's very powerful. Okay. That's only one of multiple. I'm going to have to do another one of these. This is the game that just keeps on giving. That was Season 5, Episode 16, Xcom 2, War of the Chosen, Part 3. Sleepy Time Mumbles is produced by Noosed Octopus Theatre, etc. and hosted and performed by me, Dan Bain. Follow the show through the links in the show notes. But until next time, good night. Sleep tight.